out and try to figure out an answer for yourself. The last thing you want to do is just be locked into whatever fucking problem you have and have that hinder your progress.
The easiest thing that we can do as people is lie to ourselves about anything, honestly, because our brain is weird in the fact that we can convince ourselves of something or just strictly lie and gaslight ourselves into believing something about ourselves and then genuinely just forget that we're lying about this thing. It's so effective in people because when you lie to yourself, it's kind of validating your own mind and gaslighting yourself into believing the lies that you're telling it. And over time, it's being enforced in your brain through the validation, and we just forget that we're lying about the thing. Unfortunately, although this is the most common practice that we take into combating our insecurities, it's actually the least effective because we're not changing the thing that we are insecure about. We're not coming to terms with the things that we're insecure about. We're just suppressing it so much that we forget it exists, and eventually that just projects. I'm sure you watching this video most likely has an insecurity that you've suppressed for so long that you honestly forgot it exists. You haven't taken the right precautions to combat this insecurity, and sometimes we even lie and just say that the insecurity doesn't exist at all. I've never understood why we as people are too scared to be seen as anything but flawless or anything but perfect. And psychologically, yes, I suppose it makes sense because everybody has this ego that they want to fuel to be better than everybody else. But with the advancements that people are making, you would assume that this is getting less ingrained into the human DNA, yet it somehow is always embedded into our DNA. But over time, these lies and unseen insecurities build up over time and create a shadow of regret, of unknown insecurity, and just negative emotions in general, honestly. This shadow of regret and this shadow of insecurity isn't addressed from the jump, and so you aren't necessarily able to prevent those little things that you're doing over time from happening. And by little things, I mean projecting emotions or being judgmental or being jealous, things like that. You start projecting those negative emotions onto other people simply because it's building up inside of you, and people can't take as much as we think. So if negative emotions are going to be building up inside of us, it's going to be a little too difficult to just hold on to it and just keep it inside of us. Eventually it's going to leak through. It's building up inside, and you as a person have no idea why. You become a judgmental person, a jealous person, an envious person, just a container for negative emotions, and once again, you have no idea why this is happening to you. I read a little bit about this in a psychology book, and it describes the shadow. But the shadow is specifically a psychological belief that the insecurities and negative emotions and emotional trauma that we develop as children, or even currently, never truly go away. So this shadow that I just described is simply just a vessel to all those negative emotions that you've suppressed or just forgotten about completely. But the fact that it's still building up inside and projecting onto other people just goes to show that we never truly forget those things, do we? But who cares, right? Like I said, the shadow is just a buildup of negative emotions and insecurities that we suppressed and forgot about. Things that are forgotten can't necessarily impact our lives, right? Well, at least not that much. Not exactly. I've been kind of touching on this, but with this shadow, it doesn't just exist inside of you. It's a container of negative emotions, and over time, when things keep piling on, it's gonna overspill. It doesn't just exist, it bleeds through in everyday life. It bleeds through in everyday conversation. It bleeds through in your actions. It bleeds through in the way that you think, your mental beliefs, your values. So in a sense, indirectly, this shadow kind of explains all of those little things that you do that you can't stand or that you don't have an explanation for. Like judging other people, being an asshole to other people, disliking someone for just being themselves. This is the explanation for all of that stuff. Now, this is an example from a personal story that I had a while ago. Now, let's take this guy that you don't like for whatever reason. Maybe you find him annoying when he's living an everyday, regular Joe life. He's unbothered, he's energetic, but he's also loud and disruptive in class. Let's take a person like this, who is just loud and disruptive, but also just energetic. You find him to be so annoying, and you find him bothering every single day when he's around. But you can't see why he annoys you so much. You're hating on every single thing he does in your head. You're judging him. You're looking at him in disgust, honestly, and this is just not a way to live your life. When especially at this point, the guy is just living. He may be a little annoying, but he's just living his life at that point. Now, when you think about your shadow and the built-up insecurities and the built-up negative emotions, you start to think that maybe a younger version of yourself has a reason to dislike this guy. You were called annoying, and yes, I was called annoying so much as a kid because I have an energetic personality. So maybe seeing a person like this who's energetic and just unapologetically himself, seeing a person like this who doesn't get called annoying so much, this kind of bothers you a little bit. In a sense, it's validated because of those past experiences, but you're still an asshole. Seeing this guy probably just reminds you of the way that you weren't able to be yourself as a child. And this is just an example for me. Or maybe a different perspective. It reminds you of somebody that ruined a moment for you in your childhood, like a guy that called you annoying or a guy that kind of was an asshole to you. So you're projecting that on other people that have character traits of a younger version of yourself. Whatever the reason is, you have trauma for whatever reason that you're just not touching on. I hope my example wasn't too off track, and hopefully that wasn't a little too personal, but without uncovering what traumatic experience you had as a child, or it doesn't even have to be honestly traumatic, because when you say that, it sounds very dramatic. But without uncovering these insecurities that you're building up inside, you're never going to truly heal. But you just project this trauma and these insecurities onto other people. People don't deserve that sometimes. And I haven't necessarily 100% fixed my shadow, because I know there's probably a bunch of things that I'm not even thinking of, or a bunch of things I'm not even touching on because I've suppressed it for so long. But I have made significant progress in just being a different person, not judging people as much, not being as rude to people, not being an asshole. I did this by simply addressing the trauma and not running from it, not hiding from it, but addressing it accordingly. This is the most beneficial thing to combat this, and it's so simple, yet people just forget to do it because they're scared of doing it. It's important to notice when you feel insecure, and a lot of people don't like to notice when they feel insecure because it makes them feel as if they're not as perfect as they want to be, and you're not as perfect as you want to be. Everybody has an ego, and the sooner that you push past that ego, the sooner you're making progress. When you're feeling insecure, try to examine exactly why you're feeling negatively. Dig deep into trying to figure out what happened in your childhood that makes you insecure about certain things, or just what happened regularly every single day. As soon as you're rude to other people, just think, why am I judging this person? What does it matter to me? And back when I had a job, when I was working with a bunch of people, like thousands of people in one place, I would see myself judging people so much. And eventually, after I judge people, I think, why did I just judge that person? Like, what does it matter to me? I think like that each time just forces you not to judge people. Like, what am I gaining from that at all? When you're rude to other people, think about if that person reminds you of somebody, or think back, do they remind you of something, somebody, anybody, honestly. Reflect on if there's a legitimate reason for you to be having emotional outbursts on certain people for no reason at all. Journaling helped me a lot. Writing down my triggers, understanding why things trigger you, and understanding how to improve yourself and improve those certain social interactions that you have, people that you don't think you like. But the shadow is something that we all have, and we all need to uncover, and we all need to think about, and we all need to try to get better with. But yeah, that's all I have. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.